Finally, the preview loads like 40 seconds later. All right. There, I see us. Hey, it's me. It's a me. And it's
me.
It's a John. All right. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 167, your once weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in replay on the podcast over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. We do drink alcohol on the show, however, it is a family-friendly show in both language and content. We read all super chats on the air so long as they meet those family-friendly criteria. And if you want to join the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon or Float Plane. Links are both down in the video description. You'll get exclusive access to the Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all of the hosts from Talking Heads, and keep the conversation going with the awesome community that's over there.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
That was a very polished one right there.
Thank you. I think that's my best one yet.
I was like, oh, no hiccups. It felt natural.
Not even an
smooth. Yeah, not even on. It almost felt like even your breaths were at the right sections.
Yep. No, that one felt really good. that one was like, I might as well get a job on radio at this point.
It's like, all right, rewind that. We're just going to replay that intro every time.
Yeah. Except we'll have to be forever on episode 167.
We've lost count a few times before.
Pay no attention that Patreon is 504ing right now. Well, go to Float Plane. That's what it's there for. All right. Oh, and dang it, I forgot one thing. Do let us know what you're drinking if you're following along in chat, and we'll give some shout-outs here in the early show goings. There we go.
That was the one we forgot.
Yep, I always forget that one. If I'm going to forget something, it's that. Either that or the podcast. Because that's still a fairly recent endeavor, although, God, we're like 20 episodes on podcast now.
How's it doing? Actually, I haven't even checked the podcast.
We've trended on a couple of them before.
Yeah, that's right. I think we were like top 5.
We were the number 2 podcast or tech podcast on gosh, which one was that? I don't remember, but yeah, we were pretty up there with.
Yeah. I know. I was like,
like, here's tested.com and here's this. Oh, and there's craft computing. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah. When did that happen? Woo!
Oh, all right. John, how you doing this week?
This week's been pretty good. All right. It's been not too bad. Although I went to my property and as you remember last Wednesday, I don't know if I was on the show or not. Oh yeah, because the windstorm and everyone's internet was down.
Yep.
I went there and my in-laws, they're living there, and I asked them, like, how's the damage, because there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's not too bad, but he told me he just looked out the window. The typical, there's a little branches here or there. Couple branches. There's a kind of a big one in the yard, but not too bad. It's like, okay, great. I go there this past weekend, and I got to go help my parents move a bed. So I go grab the truck. As I'm walking, because the truck's in the back barn, I'm walking. I see to the left of me all of these trees just falling down that are being blocked by my house. And I'm like, oh, man. I walk over there, start counting. 9 trees.
Wow.
9 trees total.
And for those who don't know, the trees on that part of the property are between 30 and 50 feet. I mean, they're not small trees.
They're not small trees. They're like long, big trees. I'm just like, oh. And then the worst part too, they were the trees that were blocking like our property from the view of the neighbor.
Oh no.
And so it's like, now I got to cut them up, and I'm going to have a perfect view of my neighbor's dining room. And it's like, So I'm thinking this weekend I'm going to bust out the chainsaw, and if anyone wants any firewood.
Yeah. Well, I actually just bought a cord of firewood last Wednesday. It showed up. So I'm good for a while.
I got a couple more cords.
Cords.
Cords. I'll just pre-season them, then you can have them.
Awesome.
Next year.
That'll work for me. Yeah, because it was only $320 delivered for a cord of kiln dried firewood. I mean, it was not bad at all. So, all right, let's get this show rolling.
Oh, there's already quite a few people showing what they're drinking already.
Yes, $2.99 donation. Big Spoon, happy Hump Day. Thank you so much, Spoon. Let's see. We've got Michael's drinking a Mad Tree Psychopathy IPA, 6.9%, 60 IBU, and 3.78 on Untapped. Sounds pretty solid. Elijah Craig with Dragon's Milk for later. That is a solid combo.
Yep.
Thank you, William. Reverend is sipping on this salty and acidic Sea Quench ale from Dogfish Head while enjoying my COVID. Yeah, for those who don't know, Rev is one of our moderators, both on the YouTube and over in the Discord, and he tested positive for COVID this week. So all good thoughts and good vibes over to Rev. As I did offer him if he wanted to ship his beers to me and I could describe them for him because he has lost all taste.
Yes. Although I will say the Sea Quencher ale, at least that doesn't have a whole lot of taste, and it's good and salty basically. So if he has any taste at all, at least he might taste a little bit of salt. So maybe it'll clear some sinuses up.
Yeah. Yep. So let's see what else we got. Jojo drinking Cincinnati's own Ryegeist Truth.
We got Skull has a Bullet 95 Rye Old Fashioned.
Ooh, that's a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, I know.
What'd you go with for the bitters this time around? That's what I want to know. So I've been experimenting with some new bitters. And,
really?
I got some barrel aged ones from Bitter Housewife that are just fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like nothing against Angostura. Angostura is the ketchup of the bar.
Yeah.
But you can get some bitters that will totally transform drinks beyond what Angostura already does.
It's like these are now Portland ketchup.
Right, exactly.
This is real tomatoes. where Angostura is like, yeah, it's mostly sugar and water and some red dye. It tastes good, but
it's cinnamon and nutmeg and stuff like that. But you get into some real fancy bitters, especially just the standard spice bitters and stuff like that. Oh, there's some good stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
Angostura Orange, only bitter he has right now. That's not a terrible one to go. Those are usually the orange bitters of choice.
Yeah, I got that one.
Yep. Let's see. Got a couple more, and then we'll open our own beers here. Emil is drinking a New Belgium Captain Dynamite IPA, 7.7%.
We got McLord Beavis Mountain Dew Zero. That's fine. You don't have to have alcohol.
That's right. I think I saw Code Red a little bit ago, too. I don't remember who that was, but Kildy. Yeah. He's drinking a Code Red. So this will date me, but back in high school, our jazz ensemble band was sponsored by Mountain Dew Code Red because we named our band Code Red. So we got free t-shirts and drinks all the time. It was great.
We got Lethal is drinking a Chocoveza Stout by Stone.
Nice.
Novella Hub has a Goose Island Christmas IPA. I don't remember them coming out with a Christmas IPA.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the opening. Now we talked about this beforehand. So John goes, "What do you got?" Because he had a couple IPAs sitting out, and I went, "Well, I've got stouts tonight." He goes, "Big stout, little stout." I got like a medium one and a big stout. So now it's time for the reveal because I don't know what he's drinking and he doesn't know what I'm drinking. Yeah, and I know one of mine he doesn't have.
So you think? Because I went shopping today.
John, try me on this one. Okay.
Okay. But unfortunately, I could not find a medium stout. All of my stouts were big, so I had to go for a medium-esque IPA, but I really wanted to, I bought this beer just for today. So I was like, I do have a big stout though for later. So, but my first beer is Alvarado Street Brewing, the F40.
Yes.
So I think it's a very cool, I literally bought it just for the can art.
That is a freaking cool can.
I was like, that's such a cool can.
Yeah.
So a double IPA, 8.1%.
Okay, not bad. You almost matched me exactly on the percentage. I've got an Ex Novo
Okay.
This is a robust American stout, full-bodied with notes of dark roasted coffee, as a imperial stout should be. This is the Penguin Tuxedo.
Oh, okay.
This is one that I have not seen from Ex Novo before.
I have not seen that either.
8.0.
Okay.
And Ex Novo is one of those ones, like, they really don't make anything bad. Where
No, honestly, everything's either solid or excellent.
Or above bar, right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think my only complaints I've ever had from an Ex Novo beer is that like acidic burn. I was like, okay, this is really good flavor. I just can't have more than 8 ounces of it.
Right, exactly. And
then that's nothing bad about the beer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a nice double IPA.
John says Old Rasputin is one of the best imperial stouts I've ever had. That is certainly a classic.
That is a very good classic.
That is a quintessential what an imperial stout should be.
Yes.
I mean, that's the benchmark for a lot of, dark beer makers.
Yeah. If you say Russian imperial stout, what's your favorite or what's your standard go-to? Old Rasputin.
Old Rasputin's got to be at or near the very top of your list.
Yeah. So.
If you want to get variants off of that, sure, barrel aged but no, Old Rasputin for a standard 10% imperial, you can't do much better.
Oh yeah, no, and I actually have a couple. One of the barrel aged ones. I've had a few of them before.
Yeah.
I think I have a whiskey or bourbon, a couple years old. How's your stout?
Oh, that's smooth.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. And the coffee comes very late. Wow.
Now, is this the beer that I don't have?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the next one is the surprise one.
The next one's the surprise one.
Okay.
And it is 13.4.
Oh, all right. Well, you beat me on that for mine. Wow. Like I think a whole percent too.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah.
I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. That's not often.
No. So
John goes, crap, now I gotta find a 15.5 or something.
I do have that.
I know.
It's like I don't want to drink it though. Well, that's when I was pulling it out, I was like, oh, that's a 10. Oh, that's a 15. That's a 14. I need a small stout. Oh, yeah. I drank them all.
Yeah, no, and that's my problem too. Is small stouts don't last long in my house.
Yeah.
I grabbed early for the show. I was looking at what beers I had, and I was originally going to come on and just drink one because I have a Deschutes, the Big Butte 31 or whatever the special edition
the
Big
new
Butte
one,
is.
Yeah.
13.8 in in a almost crowler. It's a 28 ounce.
Oh yeah, the big bomber style.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Yes, buddy.
Go for it.
What's up?
Hot Dog says, try some mixed drinks with the videos.
The car move?
Actually, I have considered doing an all cocktail month. And that may happen. Maybe in March, I'll do an all cocktail month. And if you're on the Patreon or the float plane, I'll do the recipes to go along with that. I'll actually do like mixology episodes with that. So that'll be the premium content for that month. So
doing cocktails in March?
Yeah, cocktails in March.
All right.
I declare March cocktail month on Craft Computing.
All right, good, because I'm not going to do no 100-calorie marks then. Like last year.
We learned from last year.
Yeah, I learned from last year. That was horrible too, because that was the start of everything. And I was like, man, I'm stuck at home and I got to drink 100-calorie beer for the rest of the month.
Cocktail March Madness. I think Skull just named it.
There we go.
Nice. Excellent. Hopefully I don't get a cease and desist from the NCAA. All right. Let's get this thing started since we're 15 minutes in now.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the show, everyone. So, I think everyone knows at this point that I recently I declare cocktail month. That's good. I think everyone knows that recently I purchased a new laptop. I purchased an M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch, base model 13-inch, $1299. Pretty much on the promise of performance and battery life. And spoiler alert, I've been thrilled. I've been absolutely enamored with this laptop. It has been everything that they sold it as being in the Apple presentation that I actually use it for. I can't say that all use cases are going to be, night and day transformations, and especially from what I was coming from on a laptop, which was a 12-inch MacBook. It was the i7, but 2-core, 4-thread, 15-watt part. It wasn't a world beater. But this laptop in performance has been incredible. Even for some gaming. Like, I play Crysis on this thing at 60 frames per second, 1080p ultra settings in crossover, which is using like Wine and DXVK to translate DX 10 and 11 over to Vulkan. And this thing kicked the crap out of that game. It was, and I know it's 2007, but Crysis is still demanding, especially on single-threaded CPUs. And it held up. It really did. I was trying to get Cyberpunk playing on this when Cyberpunk released, but crossover right now does not yet support DX12, and Cyberpunk's a DX12 only game. But I wanted to be the first person to run Cyberpunk on a Mac, and that was going to be like the video that I put out the release week, and I just couldn't quite make it happen. I probably could if I compiled my own Mesa and, but I didn't have that kind of time. Anyway, I've been thrilled with the new Mac, but I do have some complaints. Complaint number one is a complaint that's been around since 2016 when Apple introduced the Touch Bar. The much maligned, OLED screen to replace your function and quick keys, because I used to use the volume up, down, mute, brightness up, down, keyboard light up, down. I don't need a dedicated emoji bar when I'm typing things. I don't need text corrections to show up on the bar when I'm typing. That requires me to take my hand off and press on the word that I want, rather than just, if you guessed right, I'm going to hit space and move on. Like, think of workflow when you're typing. This is a lot easier than that.
Yeah.
And so the Touch Bar for me, that, and there's no tactile response to it. There's no muscle memory for where things are supposed to be because they're always moving around. It's difficult to customize.
It takes you out of your zone.
It takes you out of your zone, and you have to rely on software developers to integrate features into it. And then that's more time on them. And is it worth it for them? And then there's some really stupid integrations that I just flat out don't like. Chrome has put a couple of buttons on there for like new tab and back. It's like, yeah, because the swipe on the trackpad was way too difficult to remember. And so I'd rather reach up and press a non-tactile button to go back on a web page. And so what I end up doing a lot of times is, as my hand is moving to adjust volume or something like that, I'll end up going back on the web page by mistake because my hand hits a glass touch bar and it goes, oh, you wanted to go back. No. So the Touch Bar is terrible. Apple's made a lot of really weird design decisions in the last 4 or 5 years that I've just not been a fan of.
They just think it's cool. So like, oh, it's cool, so it's innovative.
It looks cool. I mean, it looks flashy, but it is absolutely not functional. Well, it seems that after years of complaints, Apple might be starting to maybe listen to consumers again. Because remember when they first started going Intel in 2006, 2007, the machines they came out with were pretty good, but they weren't great. I had a 2007 MacBook Pro and a 2006 MacBook, and boy, those were dogs. I mean, they were good enough for the time, and they ran OS X, and I could dual boot Windows, and but man, those were not great laptops. And Apple listened, and they made them more robust, and they kept them serviceable with 2.5-inch SSDs and user replaceable memory and stuff like that. Things that are like mind-blowing for today. It's like, no, they totally did that back then. But Apple is looking at bringing back some old features that they've nixed in the past for various reasons. First and foremost, they're looking at introducing the Apple Silicon MacBook Pro with no touch bar, going kind of back to basics. So supposedly there's going to be a 14 and 16 inch.
It's going to look just like that.
Right. Yeah, we're going back to basics, like I said. Yeah, no touch bar on the new MacBook Pro. Hopefully that's money that they can spend on something else in the system.
That'd be nice if they were all macro keys.
Right.
You could just program them yourself, whatever you want.
Or just bring back my function keys, F1 through 12 with volume up, down, brightness up, down. The things that I need every single day, constant access to. Yeah, those things would be nice to have quick access to with muscle memory and tactile response. Like, how was that so difficult to understand from a workflow standpoint?
They're
that people who use professional machines for professional workflow might appreciate that in their workflow.
They'll bring it back, but they're going to be like, no. We're going to move everything around to what you're used to. So it's all going to be different.
Right.
It's going to be volume up is on the far left hand, and volume down is going to be on the far right hand.
You know, when the MacBook first launched, the volume up down was on the left and the brightness was on the right on like F9 and F10. And the mute volume up and down was F1, F2, F3. And then somewhere along the lines, they flipped them.
Yeah, and, exactly. That's going to happen.
And the volume keys have moved multiple times because for a while they were F10, 11, 12. For a while they were 8, 9, 10. So yeah, they've shifted around a lot. But if it's your laptop and you're using that laptop for 2, 3, 4 years, you get used to where that's at. So that's not that big of a deal. But there's a couple other features that will probably make Apple fans very excited to have back. They're bringing back the MagSafe connector, you know, the power cable that really never had a problem and works better than USB-C and doesn't yank your computer across the desk that everyone loved for a decade. Yeah, they're bringing that back because, well, USB-C just isn't as good. I don't know why they thought it would be. It's not a cost-saving measure because USB-C is expensive to implement still. But MagSafe coming back. About time. Also,
plus it takes up a port, yeah.
Right. Also, SD cards. Right.
Right. I mean, okay. Apples are known for, like, the major thing is like video and photography editing and sound stuff. Okay, for videographers and anyone taking photos, what do they have? You know, SD cards. 99% of the time. It's not, okay, let me interface with my wire, plug in, or do that Apple Air swipe, you know, cloud thing that they tried to implement. It's SD card. You pop out the SD card, plop it in, and the speed of your SD card in your reader, that's what people wanted to use.
Right.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, I think
just airdrop your footage from a compatible camera over the. I'm not dropping 400 gigs from my video file over Wi-Fi to my laptop. I'm dumping it to either a storage server or I'm editing it on the spot, and I'm plugging my SD card in to do that. Now I'm kind of in the minority. I shoot on USB-C SSDs because I bought a camera specifically to do that. But it's a weird, not everyone does that. No. Anyone who's on the Sony ecosystem, you shoot on SD cards. I mean, John, Justine, Epos, everyone shoots on SD cards. Well, no, Epos shoots on CFast.
Oh, I thought he had a Sony.
He has a Ursa Mini 5.6K.
Oh, I've seen a couple of reviews. He's done on Sony's.
He's done some Sony stuff, but no, his primary A camera is a Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4.6K.
Oh, well, I know.
And it's a good looking camera, let me tell you.
Yeah.
He was supposed to let me borrow it on alternate weekends, but
Brian? Brian? All right, whatever. Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, he has a Sony.
Yeah, Brian has a Sony. He bought a Sony 3. There's a lot of people who shoot on Sony. I shot on Sony for a couple of years until I went to Fuji for a year with the XT2, or XT3, which was a fantastic camera, but still had its limitations. And then finally got a cinema camera because I was tired of working around those limitations. And then Sony comes out with the A7S3, and it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. That's why I thought Epos had it, because I know he did a review on that camera.
No, he has an A7 II, which is a full frame mirrorless camera. He took that to CES, and he's done a couple other things like that. He's also reviewed the Blackmagic Pocket Cine 4K. Oh yeah,
that one's a cool camera.
Yeah. So he's done quite a bit of reviews on cameras, and most recently he's done a review on the one that I have, the ZV-1.
Oh yeah. Didn't he use yours?
No, he didn't.
Didn't he do a video on your camera though at CES 2 years ago?
Yeah, we did a collab last year.
Last year.
A year ago last week.
Oh.
It's been 83 years. Yeah. But no, Apple bringing back features that were popular mainstays of their products should be applauded. It really should be. Now, I still wish they were more repairable, and I wish they were more consumer friendly. But they still swayed me into buying a MacBook despite my complaints about the ecosystem. Now, I don't use any of the Apple ecosystem other than macOS. I buy software from elsewhere. I don't have an iPhone, but man, when you're looking for like a mobile professional rig, I don't think there's anything better than you can get right now than possibly the Apple M1. And I'm hoping that's the story for quite a while, and maybe even doubling the performance when the MacBook Pro 16-inch comes out, because they usually, this one has 8 cores. It's got 4 low cores and 4 high power cores. Guess what? The MacBook Pro is going to have 12 high power cores or some crap like that.
Yeah.
Or the rumored 32 high power core that they're going to put in the Mac Pro, which is going to decimate just about everything. The 64 core Threadripper might have an edge up still, but there's not much else.
Yeah, no, it'll be nice. I think it's all probably because they took over their own dies, their own processors. Mm-hmm. And I think the whole like dongle situation and the bar really just like so many complaints. I'm sure there's still going to be plenty of dongle usage now, but I do know the SD card reader and having to buy a dongle, then it takes up a USB-C port was a big issue. I heard that a lot of times. And it's like, well, again, too, for like you said, a videographer, he has to have all these dongles, and it's just more accessories that they have to take on this portable editing rig or whatever rig they're trying to use. And if he forgets it, he's screwed. And he's got to go spend $40-50 at some electronics store to go and get it because he needs to finish it that day.
Exactly. Yeah. And USB-C connectivity, it's great because you can plug everything into it. The problem is, if everything you own is USB-C, USB-C is expensive and not easily to implement in a lot of laptops. And in most cases, you can't expand USB-C connectivity. You can only downsample USB-C connectivity. So you can't get a USB-C to 4-port USB-C hub. That doesn't exist because of the power constraints and bandwidth constraints for top-end USB-C equipment. Things that'll transfer, 20 gigabit per second, for example, or eGPU docks and things like that. Mm-hmm. You can't have one into even 2 ports is very, very rare. But the problem is when you're relying on it for charging and for SSD connectivity, for videography input, or a second hard drive because you bought the 256 gig model instead of the 1 terabyte model because you didn't feel like paying Apple $600 for the privilege, or whatever else, you only have 2 USB-C ports. That is your expansion. Now, yeah, you could live that dongle life, and carry, a USB-C to 6-port USB, or Like what I do is I have a USB-C to 3-port USB 3.0 as well as gigabit Ethernet on it. So when I'm actually doing professional work, I can get gigabit speeds. But even that has its limitations. So yeah, I'm glad to see Apple moving this direction.
Yeah, well, even the this article even talked about even the design might be going a little more instead of the tapered design, a little flat. So you might see a little bit thicker of that, MacBook Pro.
Thicker?
Oh no, thicker!
You can't do that.
But it's probably gonna feel.
Would that include more battery?
Yeah, I know, right? So, although I will say I've always enjoyed the Apple.
Or gasp, a competent cooling solution.
So I do like the sleek design of the MacBooks though. When they were tapered, I kind of like them.
I like the tapered edge, but I said in my initial unboxing of the MacBook Pro that the reason I bought the MacBook Pro instead of the MacBook Air, I know they're the same processor, and I was going to buy the upgrade to the MacBook Air anyway to get the extra GPU core and a couple other things. And I ended up going the MacBook Pro. And the reason I did that was weight in the hand. It's because the MacBook Air was a back-heavy device. And in my hand, it felt like at one point I was going to drop it. I was going to lose center of gravity somewhere, and it was going to plummet from my hand. Whereas the MacBook, wherever I grab it, it's the same weight, it's the same balance. I know what it's doing. And that's very important to me. Now on the MacBook, the 12-inch, it's a 2-pound laptop. It's not that big of a deal. When you start pushing that 3.5 pound, when you get into the heavier devices like the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, the weight starts to matter, and the distribution of weight starts to matter, especially as it gets further away from center. And I wasn't going to risk dropping a MacBook Air because it didn't feel right.
Well, yeah, it felt thin. Like if I drop it, it's going to shatter on these edges.
Right.
I know it.
Right. It's the same performance. You paid $150 more. Yeah, I also got 16 hours battery life instead of 14. So I count it as a win. That's a good beer.
Yeah.
That's a really good beer.
No, I'm really.
That was $11 for a 4-pack too.
That's
like
cheap.
It was. Yeah, I was surprised.
Wow.
So no, Ex Novo came out with a bunch of stuff lately.
Yeah, I saw that.
They have their binary IPA, which by the way I had last week, and that is freaking fantastic as well. It's a 10% double IPA, and it reminded me a lot of Megalodon from Ninkasi. Like it's Citra and Mosaic, and it was fantastic. And that was, I think, $12 for a 4-pack.
That's nothing.
And
that's $3 a pint.
I know. And they had, I bought like 4 4-packs the other day, just Ex Novo, and I felt like such a shill. But I got home and I'm opening them and I'm like, that's really good.
Yeah. Time to fill up that horn.
Yeah.
With 2 of them. I declare February, Horn February.
You know what's wrong with society? We don't drink the blood of our enemies anymore.
That's right. I know. We should. I thought about I didn't know if I should do it or not, but there was like I saw this little.
Sorry. I love that we're 35 minutes in and we've only been to one story, so we should probably move on.
All right, let's move on.
I don't mean to be the moderator all of a sudden.
Right. Well, whatever. Anyways.
I can ramble, but you know what? This is my show, Jonathan.
Fine.
Well, you're mad at me, but tell you what, I got a lead on where you can possibly earn yourself $70 million for dumpster diving.
I'm listening.
$70 million.
70 million.
70 million for dumpster diving.
Okay.
That is not a euphemism. That is not an exaggeration. That is, someone will pay you $70 million if you're able to find a hard drive in a landfill.
Okay.
The reason being is that hard drive happens to have 7,500 Bitcoins on it. That was thrown away in 2013 because Bitcoin was pretty much useless. 7,500 Bitcoins could buy you like 3 Domino's pizzas and a Slurpee.
Oh god, because that reminds me of the guy who like bought a Domino's pizza with Bitcoin.
That was the first ever real world, Bitcoin for product transaction from a retail company. Was someone bought a large Domino's pepperoni pizza, which is like $7.99, with I think like 4 Bitcoin or something like that.
Oh my gosh!
Right. Today, Domino's is going, yeah, it's 120,000.
Well, they probably held on to it. They're like, this paid for a new franchise.
Anyway, so yeah, this man, James Howells, mined Bitcoin for 4 years when it was very early on, earned 7,500 Bitcoin, and went, well, this is pointless. And when he was salvaging scrapping hard drives, he went, well, I don't need this one anymore, and tossed it. And all of a sudden he realized, wow, Bitcoin's at $40,000. I wonder if we could find that drive.
Let's see. Yeah. So it sounds like, it's a guy from Welsh, a city in Newport. And he will cut in, basically it looks like he was going to the city council and saying, if you allow me or anyone to go to the landfill site that we use during these, it looks like a couple months, to dig for it, and if it is still able to get the data out of it,
right,
he'll cut them in for 25%.
Hello, drive savers?
Yes.
Yes, I'll pay. Yes, I'll pay the $8,000 for a platter swap.
Exactly. Right. No problem.
Yeah.
So basically,
I heard you can recover anything. Now, anything, right? Okay.
So estimated total currently when this article was written, $275 million is stored on that hard drive. Yep.
He goes, I'll give you a quarter of it if you let me find it.
Yeah.
Or if you find it, I'll give you a quarter of it.
And the city said no. I love that. City said no way. No guarantee. It's going to pollute the neighborhood.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man. I bet that guy is kicking himself so hard.
Yep.
Oh, he's probably mining again anyways. And like, I got a fraction of one.
So, I think I mentioned this at one time. Back in 2012-13, when like GPU mining was first coming around, I looked at investing in a bunch of graphics cards, and I had access to computer labs at the time for local universities and schools and things like that. And it's like, well, they're not used during the summer, and it's an air-conditioned room, and I can rent the room as a community member for $30 a day, and I don't have to pay electricity because that's not part of the contract. Let's see, what would my investment be if I just bought, 40 or 50 GTX, or at the time AMD 290s?
Yeah.
How much would I be into that? And would I get Bitcoin in return? What's the cheapest graphics card that I can buy to stuff in 40 machines and start mining? Me and a friend thought about going in on that project, and I kind of wish I would have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people though, bailed on Bitcoin, especially when they hit like that $1,000 mark, and they probably cashed out like right away. They're like, oh, this will never get any higher, and they probably kicked themselves for it. And then to be, I think it says like $35,000 a coin. Something like that.
Yeah, it's sitting at 35 right now.
Yeah, and
it peaked near 40. It was like 38.5 or 39.
Yeah,
like
who would sit there and be like, I'm going to hold on to this for 7 years when it went up and down quite a lot, and there's been plenty of highs, never this high, but plenty of highs to where you would have made a mint off of it, and you'd be like, oh, screw it. So I don't think you would have been holding on to those Bitcoins still. But man, even I was like, I don't know about this Bitcoin thing. Although I wonder how much Bitcoin is worth. The
that was Bitcoin.
Coin, that's what
Bitcoin.
I want to know how much that one's worth.
Well, he was brought up on FCC charges. So
I know. Well, those are
probably not doing as well.
I wonder if I can like Ollie. Those are the Bitcoins you get on Wish.com.
Right. Why are there 3 eyes? All right. Let's get into the purchase that I made this week, or we'll call it a pre-order because this company actually has a track record of delivering. I'm talking, of course, of GPD. So Gamepad Digital, as they are known. They are a Hong Kong-based company, and they make portable gaming laptops. But they're not really laptops. They're palm top PCs, which, number one, I have always been enamored with micro technology, with like palm top tech or miniaturization and stuff like that. I love
ever since handhelds came out, or the tab, the handheld typing tablets.
Right. Yeah, when I was in high school, this will date me again, but most people were like spending money on going to the movies at the movie theater or the arcade, or things like that. Yeah. Or buying game consoles, go out and buy a Nintendo 64. I went out and I bought a Palm Pilot, and I used it and I loved it. It was freaking amazing.
I had the attachable foldable keyboard that you mounted it, so you had a full keyboard on it.
Oh no, yeah, the key. I had the keyboard. I had one of the accordion keyboards.
Yeah.
But man, graffiti was boss.
Oh no,
graffiti was incredible. I was faster at graffiti for like 2 years of high school than I was actually touch typing.
No, but I use that thing for all of my class notes.
Right. No, I would sit in class with just a stylus and the palm, and I'd be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I still know the language. I still know the alphabet. And whatnot. And the teacher's going, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm taking notes."
Oh yeah. My teacher.
No, you're not. And it's like, "Here's your entire lecture word for word." Like, yes, I am.
Oh yeah, no, mine too. Because all they hear is because it's loud, and so everyone's with the pencil. Right. He's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm taking notes."
Yeah.
Although after he stopped doing that, I did
go back to Space Trader.
Yes, exactly.
Or Dope Wars.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't stupid.
Right.
I knew what to do.
Right. Exactly. But no. So I've always been infatuated by that, and I've mentioned a couple times, but I'll give shout outs again. So 2 of my users on this wonderful chat have blessed me with the presence of these 2 devices. So here is the GPD Win 1, and here is the GPD Win 2. And man, I have been enjoying both thoroughly. I have 30 hours into this one, and I think about 25 into the GPD2. And they sent them over in December after I just mentioned them on the show. Like, I've always wanted one of those. And 2 people reached out within a week and said, "Well, I have one of those. Do you want it?" Yes. So, and they've been fantastic, and I've been playing the hell out of them. Playing way more on those than I have even on my desktops, although I've been streaming my desktop to these some of the time. And so, freaking awesome, right? Well, it convinced me that when the GPD Win 3 was announced, I kind of want one of those. And especially because it's a return to the Sony UMPC form factor, which was always a favorite of mine. It is a tablet first, so it kind of looks like a Switch Mini. It's a 5.5 inch screen, only 720p. But it's almost the exact same dimensions as a Nintendo Switch Mini or a Nintendo Switch Lite. Excuse me.
Lite.
But it has a snap-up keyboard.
That was the sexy part.
All of the Sony Vaio UMPC. By the way, if someone has a Sony Vaio UMPC, I want one. I will put a bounty up for one if you have one. It has to work, but I would be willing to pay some money for it. Not a lot, but some. Because at best, it's a Core Solo. At worst, it's an Atom. Let's be real. But this is a phenomenal form factor. They did away with most of my major complaints of the 1 and the 2, and that is the lack of an L3 R3 click on the joysticks. which made some games fairly difficult to play because it's like, oh, press L3 to crouch. And it's like, okay, where's L3 on the keyboard here?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't all that intuitive. So now the joysticks click. They can actually be, proper L2, R3 or L3, R3 buttons. The L2, R2, so your trigger buttons, are now analog instead of just button presses. So driving games and spaceflight games and whatnot, things that you need an actual like feather throttle for, you can use it now.
That's what you want.
And I haven't even gotten into the specs of this thing, which are pretty impressive. Jeff, Budget Linus, yeah. I'm not putting out a $10,000 bounty for an Ostendo DLP, although if you have one, I will drive to see it. And by the way, I knew about that TV. I knew about that display when it was released. Linus had never heard about it before. I actively shopped for one for years because I was a flight sim and racing fanatic, and you could not get any better than a curved 43-inch triple wide DLP screen. So yeah, and I knew it was an Alienware release, and Ostendo was the OEM. Budget Linus, my ass.
No, I like the programmable keys in the back too, though.
Yes, that is a huge thing.
I like that. But specs.
Right. So rather than having like a full, tactile keyboard, they've gone for a touch panel keyboard, which just touch panel and a little haptic feedback. And honestly, that's just fine. I'm not writing essays on this thing. I'm playing games. And so games needs to be the first, second, third, and fourth consideration in ergonomics and where are you spending your money and what features can you kind of skimp on. And I don't think this keyboard is really a skimp because it is a capacitive touch keyboard with haptic feedback. So when you press a button, it has pretty much everything you need. It has your function buttons. So if you have certain macros or certain features that need those buttons, or you need to hit Alt-Enter to open up a game in full screen or whatever, it has those available. And then you can click the screen back down and you've got a Switch style interface. The buttons on the back are going to be fantastic for things like RetroArch, where you need some programmable keys, some quick access programmable keys. Things like load a save state or save a save state, or go back to the main menu, or any of those
instead
things.
Instead of having to swipe the screen up. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. So those are going to be a fantastic addition to this. It does start at $799. It's not for everyone. It
is. That's a pretty decent laptop price right there.
Right. I pre-ordered the $949 version, which is the i7, which gets you 20% more GPU cores. It's a 96 instead of an 80, I think. So 25% more graphics performance and a higher boost clock on the i7 at the same wattage. I've been watching a lot of reviews from Taki and the Fox, or Taki, I guess. Taki, the Fox, and ETA. So shout out to those guys because you do fantastic content. But yeah, I bought one of these, and I'm hoping to have one of the first retail samples.
What I also like too is I like it and I don't like it, but is the dock option. They are giving you an option to buy a dock. It's $50. Now you can't go and just buy the dock separately. I think you have to buy it with like the package.
Right. And I got the dock. I got the i7 with the dock.
Good. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, with that, then you theoretically could, this is a laptop if you wanted to.
Right.
Now, this is a workstation. You can go and it's got 3 USB sections, an Ethernet port. That's fantastic. HDMI and USB-C. I assume that's the power.
Yep. Yeah, here's the brick. And so, yeah, Type-C connection on the rear for power. You've got 3 USB 3 ports, an HDMI connection, and an RJ45.
Yeah, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I was very curious about this, and then using like Google streaming games and all that type of stuff. Or what was the other company that Is it just Google that's doing that streaming?
Google
game?
Stadia.
Yeah.
Stadia.
I wanted to use Stadia on this and see how well that performed.
Right.
And all of that is very appealing. I know I talked to a couple guys at work, and they're like, I'm a casual gamer, but I don't want. They have a Switch or they have a PlayStation, and they're like, I like that form factor. I want to be in bed. And I told them about Stadia, and then I showed them this, and they're like, if that is compatible and my Wi-Fi is good enough, I'm like, that's a game changer. This works. This is great. They can play all of their games that they want.
I love you guys. I freaking love you guys.
Oh my gosh.
Plutonium Shore, $5 donation. I have a GPD Pocket. It's practically new. Keys on the keyboard stopped working inexplicably, but everything else is mint. It's yours if you want it. I will take it because I love stuff like this. I love micro PC tech. I have a fascination with it. I grew up watching tricorders on TNG, and that's essentially why I originally bought a Palm Pilot, and essentially kind of why I do what I do now. Is I'm enamored with tech, and I don't think I've said enamored more in my life than I have tonight. I have this thing where you say a word once and I have to say it like 9 more times. However, it normally doesn't stick.
So
no one got that joke? Come on. However,
now I do like this, but there is, in fact, actually another company that is coming out recently with something very similar.
So Clay says, hoping AMD releases a kick-ass APU that equals PS5 level graphics with 8 CPU cores. That's actually coming a lot faster than you think it is. Not in this product, but there's an AMD competitor on this ultra mobile space. By the way, Plutonium, get in touch with me. You can DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open at Craft Computing, or you can email the business contact from YouTube. I'll respond to either one of them. I would be more than thrilled to pay for shipping.
Or he can join the Patreon and talk to you there.
Yep. Or you want to send a GPD or a Sony Vaio? Skull has the PO box right down below.
He's all like, you send that to me for free Discord access.
That's right. Rom wants to know if we've tried the condiment yet, Grandma. I gave it to John right after Christmas for carbonization.
Oh. Yes,
no, carbonation.
Carbonization. We got it, and Jeff and I did not sync up this past weekend.
Yes.
So we will try to do that probably as soon as possible. Hopefully, we can do it before the next show that we're both on, and then we can do it then.
Yep. So. Anyway, not to be outdone, AMD, well, not AMD themselves, because, by the way, the GPD Win 3 is rocking an 11th gen Tiger Lake i5 or i7, both 4 cores, 8 threads with Intel Xe graphics. And the early results are good. And like I said, I've been playing on these things enough lately where I can sit up on my couch and play games, or I can sit in bed for 2 hours after my wife has gone to sleep because I have insomnia, and I can play games without disturbing her. It's fantastic. Convinced me to buy one. Now, this one was announced quite a while ago. This one was announced like 3 or 4 months ago, I want to say. But it was only really available in the Asian market. And that is the AMD touting competitor to GPD Win 3, and that is the Aya Neo. So this is a very similar form factor. It's a 6-inch screen, I want to say. 6-inch screen powered by an AMD Ryzen 4500U, which is a Vega 6 compute unit, but it's a 7 nanometer Vega 6. And
7-inch screen, sorry.
7-inch screen, excuse me, yeah. It's a 4-core, 8-threaded CPU, or 6-core, 6-thread. Gosh. I have so many numbers floating around in my head right now. I think it was a 6-core, 6-thread with 6 compute units.
It's 6 compute units. So
there we go.
Yeah.
6-core, 6-thread, 6 compute units of Vega at 7 nanometer.
Yes.
So this is going on sale next month, February 15th, I want to say. With a starting price of $699.
So a little cheaper.
A little bit cheaper.
No keyboard.
Right.
I didn't see a keyboard.
There is no keyboard. The keyboard is onboard only. Or touchscreen only, I should say.
Yeah, so
there's no slider mechanism or anything. What you see is what you get. There are a couple additional hotkeys on the front of the unit. You can see kind of off to the side, there's 4 hotkeys right there and another 4 right there. So there's like an Xbox button, and then there's like programmable macros, I believe, on the right-hand side.
Yeah, but this screen is actually a bit nicer. It comes in at 1280 by 800.
Yeah.
So
slightly higher res, 16 by 10, which I actually prefer 16 by 10 in a lot of my displays.
So I love how they boast.
The forgotten form factor.
It boasts that it can do Cyberpunk 2077 at 30 frames per second. It's like, I don't think anyone's going to be playing that game on this.
You know what? I'm gonna try.
But yeah, it can have up to 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs.
16 gigs of 4266 megahertz LPX DDR4.
Yeah.
Which is the same memory that they're putting into the GPD Win 3, which is a godsend.
Is it 16?
Yeah, 16 gigs. 16 gigs is the only
option.
Is the only option for the GPD Win 3.
Okay.
And I believe they have 8 and 16 gig options for the Aya Neo, depending on which flavor you buy.
Okay.
4266 DDR4. That is a godsend for integrated graphics, because integrated graphics shares memory with the CPU, which means you're bound to the memory speed that you have on the CPU or on your main system memory. And in the case of the GPD Win 2, it was 1866. I can't remember the last time we had graphics memory that was only 1866. Because most of the time it's like 5,000 megahertz, or 10 or 12,000 if you're on a 3080 or whatever. It's also LPX. It's low power X DDR4 4266 memory.
Yeah.
The stuff is going to be insane.
This one comes with a 512 gigabit NVMe SSD.
Yep.
And a 47 watt watt battery.
Yep.
So I don't know how long they don't say how long the battery will last.
From what I'm hearing on most reviews, both of them are saying between 3 and 6 hours, depending on your usage.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. Maybe when it's brand new and you give it a few months, and you're probably stuck to like 2
I will
hours.
say, I've been thoroughly impressed with the battery life on these, and these are advertised as 6 hours. I've squeaked 6 hours out of them before.
Oh, okay.
So I play them on battery.
The thing is though, but I think as these modern ones are coming out, more and more graphics intensive, I think the CPU and the RAM usage will just be, super high, depending on what games you use. But when they're boasting, you can play Cyberpunk on this, I think that's going to be maxing it out. And I don't think you're going to be getting 6 hours of Cyberpunk. You're
not, you're going to be getting 2 to 3 hours of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So like I said, between 3 and 6, because the games themselves will stop at their VSync limit. And so you can say, I want to run at 30 FPS or I want to run at 60 FPS. Some gamers are not satisfied at 60. I say on the mobile side, as long as I'm playing the game, I'm pretty happy with 30. You know why? Because I can play Breath of the Wild at 24 on my Switch.
Yeah.
Like, we all played that game.
Fine. Yeah.
And it looks fine. And it's the kind of game that you can play that way. I'm not playing Twitch shooters on these. I'm playing role-playing games, and I'm playing things that I don't give a flying rip about the frame rate on. And I'm just happy to play the game because I'm on a plane and I'm cramped and I'm uncomfortable, and I just want to, zone out the next 3 hours. That's why I want these.
Yeah,
devices.
I mean, I think the only thing I really like about the Neo is that it seems to be a lot thinner, and it's $100 cheaper. So it looks more portable.
Size-wise, the GPD Win is going to shock you. Like side by side, I've seen some pictures. I'll send you a video.
Okay.
A couple of people have done video reviews, and it's shocking the difference how dense the GPD Win is.
Because, I mean, the GPD Win, but it's got that big fan in the back, and you can even see it sticks out. And when it's on that dock, I'm just like, that thing looks thick.
It looks chunky. It's now here's the GPD Win 2.
Yeah,
it's a thick boy.
Yeah,
it's
that's kind of what I imagine it's going to look like.
The GPD Win 3 is thinner than this and slightly wider, but that's it. It comes out to like there.
I'm betting it's probably the size of just the keyboard then.
Right. but for comparison's sake.
Yeah, I remember that one coming out. I wanted that one so bad when I saw it.
Well, let's talk after my GPD gets here, John.
I don't want it that bad. I was like, I want it when it came out. I was like, that's such a sweet looking thing. I want that.
No, I'm telling you. Let's talk after my GPD 3 comes out.
All right,
we'll see what we can do.
I'll give you a beer.
A beer?
Yeah, a beer.
I'm not as charitable as my viewers are.
A beer.
It's beer.
It'll be a good beer.
We need to talk the same language when it comes to good beer first.
Oh, it's wax dipped.
Okay, that's a minimum requirement. I can get some $13 bottles that are wax dipped, John. You're not impressing me yet.
It's
if it doesn't say bourbon barrel and 2-year on it, we're not even in the same ballpark.
It might say rye and wax dip and whatnot. So
yeah, how about 2 beers? RM says. We're getting closer.
I mean, one kid. Yeah, I can barrel age a Bud Light Orange for you.
I know you can. Except you gave me your barrel.
I got some oak staves that've been aging for a year in Buffalo Trace.
Bud Light barrel aged Limerita.
Yes. I mean, let's see, hang on. So yeah, I don't know if January 30th, 20 is when I put these in.
What are you aging?
These are oak staves.
Okay.
And I've been aging them in Buffalo Trace.
Okay.
For over almost a year and 10 days.
Yeah.
So I could I'll go take a Bud Light Orange, pop it in my recarbonator with an oak barrel aged stab of Buffalo Trace. You can have Buffalo Trace.
Can I pick the base beer?
You want? Yeah, sure.
Because I have some I'd like to try.
Yeah, well, that was actually one of the reasons I did that. I was like, I'm gonna go make a bunch of barrel aged beer videos.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, my beer is dry.
Mine is as well.
Sweet. So do you want to go first, or should I?
I have to go grab mine.
Okay. Well, I want to wait till you get back because I'm not going to introduce mine till you get back. So I'll go ahead and intro the next story, which is Cyberpunk has released a couple of statements about the quote-unquote disastrous rollout of Cyberpunk. So that's CD Projekt Red for those who don't know.
Okay.
And their CEO has made a public statement that said, we know we didn't live up to the standards. We did not meet the quality standards we wanted to meet. I and the entire leadership team are entirely sorry for this. Why are you going to next webpage? Go back. So the uproar over the botch debate caused a 30% drop in CD Projekt Red's shares from December 10th through mid-January, which, yeah, I don't often say that's kind of deserved, but some people have had a great experience playing the game. I will say my gameplay has been nearly flawless. There's a couple glitches. There's definitely a couple glitches here and there. But there's been nothing game-breaking for me. There's been nothing that's taking the enjoyment out of playing it. I mean, how many years did we go that GTA 4 and 5 were like randomly spawning cars on their sides and they'd blow up and then you'd get a wanted level because it blew up a cop car that was sitting next to you and rammed into you. You know, like these massive open world games, they're incredibly complex in the algorithms they use to spawn different things and whatnot. And I'm not giving CD Projekt Red a pass here. Their launch for the current gen consoles should have never happened.
No.
But at the same time, there's the other side of the coin that there's a good number of players who are also having a fantastic time and haven't had a single crash. I've had one crash in over 35 hours of playtime. The only glitches I've ran into are some clipping issues with some AI animations, like characters I'm on a mission with, entering the elevator before the doors open. And like little visual things like that. And it's enough to kind of break my immersion for a couple of seconds and laugh at it. But the story goes on and no one cares.
Well, they even built the software that was all around this game as the game was developing too. So it wasn't just oh we're making a game. No,
they made an engine.
Yeah, or engine. Sorry, yeah, they made a whole engine with this as it was being built. And this company, CD Projekt, is not like this major company that releases 7 or 8 AAA titles a year. They're lucky to get one every 2 or 3 years.
Right. GTA 4 and 5 have actual AI though. Have you ever stood and watched a pedestrian for more than 30 seconds? It became a meme with Cyberpunk, but do the same thing in GTA. Oh wait, you can't. They covered it up by calling the cops on you because you're creeping on them. But there is no AI for pedestrian and whatnot activity. It's fairly random. The cars that spawn have I'm turning right now. That's all they know.
If user stands for more than 30 seconds, call police.
Right.
That's AI.
Go away, you creep. Yeah. AI in an open world game, you're lucky if you can get the pre-scripted animations to work right, which again, 90% of them did for CD Projekt Red, and 90% of them do for GTA. I've also had, the ending mission video cinematic that plays in GTA. All of a sudden, a helicopter crashes out of the sky. And, it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't.
But really, Cyberpunk isn't really. If it was just a PC release, no one would be complaining. It's the fact that they released
first time, huh? This is a terrible port.
They did it for consoles, and especially an older model console, because that's what the big issue was.
They should have. The biggest issue was the current generation PS4 and Xbox One release.
Yeah, and they really
should have never happened.
They should have gone with a PC release on launch date only, and then said, okay, 6-7 months from now, console release.
Yeah,
and we're only going to do it for the latest consoles. That's it. Sorry. And if that happened, smooth. Although at the same time, there is the big hype of, because it was pushed back, 3 times? Yeah. I think that really kind of hurt them. And so they were like, we have to get it all out there. We have
to get it out. I mean, you realize Cyberpunk's been in development since 2014?
Yeah, I think it's like a
7-year development.
Project. Yeah.
Right. And eventually you need to start returning investment. And they were probably to the point with investors going, it's been 7 years. Where's my money? Yeah. And we have to launch. And unfortunately, when you are a publicly traded company, when you're in Ubisoft, when you're in EA, and even when you're a Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red, you have to make money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to make money. And developers knew the game wasn't ready and wasn't playable on current gen consoles.
No.
They knew. But there's other people running the company as well that said release it anyway.
Yeah. Well, for 10 days, their shareholders were happy.
Right.
They were the number one.
Sold millions of copies.
Yeah. For the first 10 days, they were the most profitable company in Poland.
Right.
So, or the highest grossing or the largest company in Poland. But yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's bad. I'm glad they did that. Although the way they're going about it, I don't know if there's them saying we're going to focus on fixing all the bugs first, and then we're not going to release any patches or any additional updates. I don't know about that.
You can go with throw new content at it, and if the bugs still exist, then the players who like it will stick around and buy them, and the players who don't like the glitches will bug out. Or you can say, let's get the bugs so it's playable and try to get the last little bit of the player base in that really cares about the fact that V stands up on his motorcycle in the Jesus pose every once in a while.
Yeah.
Which is another glitch that I've ran into multiple times. But again, it doesn't affect glitch. Anything.
Yeah.
It's just a naked V standing up like this on his motorcycle. Which way do you go? There is no right answer. It's choose a path and do it.
Yeah.
And so as bad as this launch was, the game is still, I'll say, fairly playable. Now it's not playable on low-end systems very well. The previous gen console buyers got screwed. and that's inexcusable.
Yeah.
I'll just say that, and I'll end the statement there. I was about to say, but it's still kind of, I'm going to leave the statement as it's inexcusable for them. Yeah. They should have never sold a product that didn't work.
Like I said, they really should have on launch date just said, sorry, it's not ready for consoles, PC only. Right. That's what they really should have done.
Right.
They should have bitten the bullet, and then that would have drove up the market. Like, you know what? There's some bugs on PC. It's kind of expected for a brand new, but it's such a great game. I can't wait for it to come out on console or for my console.
Yeah,
that's what they should have done. It would have drawn people in, just like Red Dead Redemption when people are like, I want to play on my PC.
Was this as bad as Fallout 76, or was that worse? Oh God, Fallout 76 was 1,000 times worse. Oh my God.
That was a complete disaster.
That game sucks today.
That was unplayable.
Right. At least people liked this game. And Fallout 76 played with a good frame rate, but there was absolutely no content. And there was absolutely no topping Bethesda for bugs in that game. Now, Bethesda releases are known to be very glitchy anyway. Like I said to console owners, first time. Do you remember Skyrim on release? Like one of the most played games of the last decade. By the way, it was released in 2012. That game is still glitchy as all hell. As far as things that spawn out of position and carriages that randomly start spinning in the air and giants that sink through the ground, or like the glitches are endless.
Why fix it when people are playing it though?
But everyone loves the game.
Yeah.
And exactly. I will say Cyberpunk drew me in, not quite as much as Skyrim, but drew me in quite a bit because the ambiance and the overall environment. Now, again, I'm playing on an RTX 2070 Super, 1440p, 144 hertz with like settings just dialed for that. And God, it's a beautiful game. I could see if you were struggling with hardware where you didn't have as good of an experience. Models not rendering will take me right out of it. Like the whole blotchy console-like rendering that was happening. Madden fans in the stands had better rendering than some of the Cyberpunk 2077 NPCs that I saw. But in my copy of it, my build, my PC, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it has everything that I want in a game to suck me into it. It has engaging characters. It has a pretty good story. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. Let's go ahead and open our next beer now that you have yours.
All right. I might have to open a different one because of whatever you have. But currently, I am holding Adria Theory's Negation Russian Imperial Stout. 12%.
Okay, 12%. Mine's a 13.4.
Okay.
Mine is from Zipline Brewing Company.
I've heard of them.
In Omaha, Nebraska.
I have actually heard of
Lincoln, Nebraska. Excuse me. Lincoln, not Omaha. Sorry, everyone in Omaha. You don't live in Lincoln. Zipline Brewing Company, Calvera the Stout. Okay. So I've had so that they have two stouts. They have the stout, and then they have the Calvera stout. Okay. This is an ale brewed with cocoa, cinnamon, vanilla, peppers, and aged in bourbon barrels, 13.4%. And that's what it looks like.
Oh. Hang on.
What?
Hang on.
There's no freaking way. There's no freaking way.
Ah, damn it.
Ha 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 ha. Nope.
I don't have that one. Nope.
Ha.
I just have the stout.
Yeah, I gave you the stout.
Yes, I know. That's why I was like, I've heard of that brewery before. I know I have something like that.
Yeah, no, I gave you the stout. Yeah. I kept the pepper one for myself.
Okay, yeah. Because when you said it, I was like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that brewery before.
Yeah, no, I knew you had the stout.
Yeah. Well,
so this is the Calvera stout.
Okay, so wait, that's cinnamon? Did you say there's pepper in it? Or
there's pepper.
Oh, you don't like hot beers.
I do.
Do you?
Oh, I do.
Oh.
I had that jalapeno mead like there was no tomorrow. That was delicious.
Well, then hang on.
Oh, John's going to go pepper beer on us. So that's what it looks like. And let me just say, that head looks dark on camera. It's even darker in person. Like, this ain't no creamy white Guinness head. This is, that's just straight up dirty water.
Yeah, I'll stick with it.
Oh.
That's weird.
That's good. I'm waiting for John to get back, but I'm also enjoying that beer.
So that's weird. So I just looked at my bottle of the stout, and it's 13.8.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. The stout is heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the pepper stout is 13.4, but it's got peppers in it.
All right. Well, whatever.
So it had a head on it that dissipated very, very quickly. But I had a head all the way to the top. And it looked like dirty water. Like it was a dark, dark head. Skull says, "Dang it, John, making me look up additional beers." Oh, that's good. That is good, and that is dangerous. Wow.
Mine's good. It's not much. So mine's not barrel aged. It's just big Russian Imperial Stout, 12%, and it's exactly what you would expect. It's not as bitter as say Rasputin. It is just dark chocolate flavor. That's all it is. It's not super thick as you would think of a bourbon. It's thinner than a bourbon barrel aged, but it's just dark chocolate beer.
Right.
With some roasty notes.
So yeah, again, this is cocoa, cinnamon, vanilla, and peppers aged in bourbon barrels. Vanilla is one that usually gets a little bit lost and muddled in stouts. This has some vanilla poking through. And
if you can get some vanilla that actually show up in a beer, that's really good.
Against the other very strong flavors.
Yeah.
And I taste everything in this beer. The heat is just that background, little bit of fire when you're done, which is exactly how I like it. I don't like the heat up front. What I like is just that lingering, that I just got done, taking a drag on a cigarette and I'm going, it's that kind of heat.
Which is actually funny. So when I cleaned my fridge out, I didn't put this in my video, but as I was doing it, I got to organize. These are all the beers I have saved for Jeff.
I had that same shelf on mine for John.
And it got bigger and bigger and bigger. But one of them, because again, I didn't know you actually like pepper beers. I thought you'd actually dislike them.
No, it's pickle beer. Pickle beer.
I have a jalapeno IPA for you.
Oh.
And it's actually, I like it. It's not hot, but you taste jalapeno.
See, and I love jalapenos. Absolutely love jalapenos.
It's a great IPA. It's like a 6.5, something like that. So nothing big.
Yeah.
It's a clean IPA with just this nice jalapeno nacho flavor to it. And it's like, yeah, I totally get it. It's really well balanced.
Yeah.
So
that sounds good.
One of the other reasons why we got to get back, I was like, we got to connect to give you the rest of that beer.
But no, it's bourbon barrel aged. I get bourbon in it. The bourbon comes in right at the same time the vanilla does. Up front, it's all chocolate. The cinnamon kind of carries throughout, and then you're left with a little bit of heat on the end. Like everything in the description is right there. And it's very accessible.
And that's always good, yeah.
And it's clear cut. There's no coffee in this, which is really surprising for a 13.4. There's no like roasty espresso kind of notes poking through. It's chocolate, cinnamon, vanilla, and a little bit of heat, and some bourbon mixed in for good measure.
Oh yeah, no, that's always nice.
I like it. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, there was Stone. Yeah, I think one of the worst beers I ever had was a pepper beer. It was Stone's Punishment, and it was like a habanero, ghost pepper, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
I think I even was able to save it for a year. Just had friends like, you have to try an ounce of this.
Right.
And, it tasted like drinking hot sauce with alcohol.
Yeah.
It was so hot.
I was one of those friends. Thanks.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. That was awful.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Okay. I will say, this is a nice beer. This is just a really good example of a good, big Imperial Russian stout.
Nice.
So I'm still very happy with it. So
awesome. All right. Before it was Can It Play Crisis, the meme, and back then we just said the joke, because meme is now joke. Doesn't mean meme anymore. The joke was, can it play Doom? If there was any electronic device in your collection, the question was, could it play Doom? It could be a photocopier. It could be.
I remember having an old junky laptop my dad had, and it was one of those big thick ones. I was like, oh, can we get Doom on this?
Yeah.
With the 8-inch screen and everything.
8-inch passive matrix.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, can we get Doom on this?
You guys complain about latency and pixel response now?
Yeah.
Try 1 second of motion blur. Turn. Okay, now I can shoot.
Yep. I'm getting hit.
Yeah, you guys complain about lag and latency. You don't know trying to play 2 seconds behind your video when you're playing Doom. So yeah, the joke used to be, can it run Doom? And it wasn't like, can your PC play Doom? It was, can anything else that wasn't designed to play Doom play Doom?
Yeah.
And so Doom has been ported onto just about everything, from Tamagotchis to the iPhone to literally photocopiers and oscilloscopes, and I'm not making any of those up, by the way.
Oh no, I've seen the photocopier one.
Right. So there's one piece of technology that has eluded Doomness, and it's kind of a weird one because there was a port of Doom on the SNES. There was Wolfenstein 3D and Doom for the SNES 16-bit. Yep. However, Sega Genesis never got that port. Well, some enterprising modder decided, you know what? It's time to cross the Sega Genesis off that list. And so he ported natively onto a cartridge the entirety of Doom. You can now play Doom on a Sega Genesis. And I kind of want this ROM. So he flashed it over to EverDrive, and it plays. It totally plays. Here's it playing on a CRT. Of course, I can't go full screen. I'll do that. There we go.
There we go.
Perfect. So here's EverDrive. And there is Doom in all of its 16-bit glory. And I might add, 45 frames a second? Like, it's not a bad tick. Plays better than it did on the Super.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that looks basically PCS.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they put a CRT in,
you had to. You have to.
It was like...
Right.
And that's an old one, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it's a Trinitron, so that would have been early 90s, like 94.
Well, that's Sega would have been 91, right? The
Genesis would have been 90, I want to say. Because SNES was 91. Sega beat Nintendo the 16-bit. I want to say it was 1990 the Genesis came out.
Sega 16-bit. Yeah, I don't care about it.
Sega was always tops in hardware until after 89. The Dreamcast. 89. It was 89. Wow. Was that 89 Japan and 90 US?
Oh, I didn't take a look at that.
Because Japan doesn't count.
Yeah, that's true.
Back in those days, there was like 18 months between regional releases. It was nuts.
North American release date, January 9th, 1989.
Oh, January 1989.
Yeah, so really, 89 hard date. Hard for North American release date. So yeah. So really more likely 88 for Japan.
88. Wow.
So yeah.
I didn't expect that.
So yeah, Nintendo was way behind. I for some reason I remember it being like a year, couple months, like 10 months behind for some reason.
No, the SNES I think was 91.
Yeah, I think Nintendo. Well, again, like I said, I thought Sega was like Christmas 90. So, although I was only 5 at the time. So
Super Nintendo, November 21st, 1990.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we got ours in 91. We got ours, February, March 91.
Yeah. No, we tried. I remember my brothers trying to win. Steven, my brother Mike, trying to win it.
Oh no, North American release, August 23rd, 1991. It came to Japan, November 21st for holiday, 1990.
So
we got ours. It was 91, maybe even 92.
So yeah.
It didn't launch in Europe until June 1992. Like I said, there was like 9 to 18 months between regional releases back then. Came to Brazil August 30th, 1993.
Gosh.
And was in production until 2003.
Wow. Which is funny because I almost
13-year lifespan. You thought the PS2 had legs?
Yeah. I almost broke mine today.
Yeah.
I was plugging in the Ethernet cord from my computer into the garage, and I knocked over my Super Nintendo, first gen, by the way, with the awful coloring on the plastic, but it like snagged itself on some spare cords.
I need to borrow that one of these days to replay my Final Fantasy games up here.
Oh, if you got any consoles, I have original hookups, power supply, controllers. Sweet. I just don't have any games.
See, I have games. I have no consoles.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
This system would make Epos Vox jealous.
Yeah.
The Gen 1.
Yeah, we had a Gen 1 SNES as well.
Yeah, we had one, but I remember my brothers were trying to get one forever, and we had a SNES, but they never let me play it. But we had an Atari 6400, and I got to play that all the time. 5600, yeah, something like that. It was
26 or 54, so it would have been 5400 probably.
Yeah. So that was mostly my console growing up for the longest time.
Yeah, and then my grandma had a 2600, and she also had an NES. I grew up on the NES, and yeah, we had the SNES. I was a split household, so we had the Sega and the SNES under the same roof. It was weird.
Oh, we had a Sega for like 3 weeks. I bought it off, so that was the thing. It's like I won it off of a bet from my neighbor. Who, again, we were like 7, 8 years old, and his mom was like, "No, doesn't count." But he kept we had it at my house for like 2 weeks, and she's like, "I paid so much money for this, and my 7-year-old didn't know what he was talking about," and she took it back from us. I was like, "How dare you?" I won that fair and square.
Yeah,
but yeah, we were a Nintendo only household.
Yep. As were most households back then, which is why Sega decided to get out of the console business after the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
This is stupid. I'm going home.
But yeah, if you
I'm gonna go make crappy Sonic games for the next 30 years.
And then Nintendo will just license them.
That was the dirtiest thing ever when Sonic started showing up in GameCube games in 2003.
I think it was like the Olympics.
Sonic.
Mario Olympics. Or
Mario
whatever,
Olympics or Nintendo Olympics or whatever.
Sonic appears and it was supposed
Winter
to be
Games 2002.
Like the biggest battle between Mario and Sonic. Like, this is such a dumb game.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say it was Winter Games 2002 because it was the Winter Olympics or something like that. And it was Mario versus Sonic. And it's like, Sonic on a Nintendo? I feel dirty.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. It's like, ew. But if you have a Sega 16-bit, you can play Doom now.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and get this, which I haven't seen. Did he talk about selling? I don't think he can even sell this.
I don't think he can sell it. But no, I totally want this ROM. I just want it for my collection. Because I think it'd be great. All right, moving on to our cover story. Sorry for making you wait so long, but
an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's 90 minutes. It's a 2-hour show. Like, you got to lead with your best, and you finish with your second best before we get into Star Trek talk. That's how it works.
Exactly.
Actually, the story just was last on the chart that we added, and I didn't have time to organize it before. So, anywho. AMD has filed a very interesting patent this week. They are patenting the chiplet design. Now, for those who aren't aware,
chiplet, but it's chiplet.
It's kind of like chiclet, and they look like little chiclets. But it's the chiplet design. So, for those who don't know, AMD, as of the Zen 2 architecture, so the Ryzen 3000 series, are no longer all of their cores and I/O and all the other requirements for a CPU sitting on one single die chip.
Yeah.
So instead, you're buying a processor with one die that is an I/O controller and multiple other dies, or sometimes one, sometimes up to 4 or 8, depending on the silicon that you get.
Up to 6, but 8.
Right. 64-core Threadripper has 8.
Okay, yeah.
Right. There's a lot of chiplets on that thing.
Yeah.
With up to 8 cores per chiplet. And those chiplets connect to the I/O die via a shared cache called the Infinity Fabric, which lets them share cache between CPU cores, which is one thing that has led to quite substantial improvements in single-threaded performance, lower latency on the chip, and just overall better power efficiency. Not only that, but from a manufacturing standpoint, AMD only has to make like 4 chips anymore, because they make this chiplet design and they bin it based on whether it's a 4-core chiplet or an 8-core chiplet or a 6-core chiplet. And pair it with other like chiplets, they're only making 1 chiplet that goes into like everything. They also manufacture the I/O die, which is just the USB and the memory controller and a couple of PCI Express and all that, all the hookups that you need to get the CPUs to actually communicate with the rest of the board is on the I/O chip. And which means they can get really good bins and still really good bins, because whatever bin they get, they're going to be able to sell that in whatever price market, but they're only making 1 chip. Whereas Intel, they have multiple fabs making i7s, i3s, i5s, Xeon, Platinum, modems, 5G. Like, it's all coming off the same fab, but they're making multiple different processes to do it. AMD goes, why would we do that? Let's make like 2 or 3 chips and call it a day and just glue them all together.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Intel. What? AMD?
Glue. They basically glued them together. That's never going to work. Oh, crap. They passed us. Right. Anyway, AMD filed a patent this week for chiplets, which it's like, oh, yeah, we knew they probably had that in the bag. Yeah. But chiplets, as it relates to GPU architecture, which has not been done before. Yeah.
Now imagine the strides AMD has done with your processor. Now
put that into a GPU.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So the same thing with Intel correlates to the same thing with NVIDIA, where NVIDIA makes multiple different processes, and they make GPU dies, and then they cut them down to size based on the binning performance. So based on clock speed or quality of the bin and that kind of thing. But NVIDIA also makes multiple different fabs or multiple different silicon wafers and cuts them out into, well, this is a GU10 or GA104 versus a GA106 versus and they can only bin a GA106 as a GA106, and it's either going into a 3060 or a 3060 Ti, although one of them you get 6 gigs of RAM, the other you get 12.
Yeah, and then
guess which one?
Yeah, and then
by the way, they're backwards.
Yeah, even within that little wafer, like there's, because they're such large cutouts too, certain ones are bad, and so they lose a little bit extra,
right,
too, that they can't use.
Right. And they've tried to resell those before, like the 2060 KO was a cut down GA104, which is the 2080 die. The same die that's in the 2080 and 2070 would usually be a TU 106 for the 2060. Well, instead they use a TU 104, and so you got all the RT and tensor cores from a 2080 accidentally, but the CUDA cores from a 2060.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the chiplet design, is that theoretically you'll get less bad cutouts.
Right. And so if you look at the compute units of a Vega die or of a Navi die or RDNA2, you can say, well, they make an 80 CU and a 76 CU and a 50 CU and a 40 CU. Well, what happens if they make a chiplet that has 36 CU? And now they can put 4 of them with an IO die with a shared cache.
Yeah.
Looking pretty promising, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because all of a sudden you have 144 CUs. By the way, how's that for quick math? 144 CUs and an IO die, and they're all the same bin. And, well, maybe some of the dies don't quite get 36. Maybe you can make a 28 CU. And so now you can have, gosh, what is that? 112. 112 CU instead of 144. And so you call that what are the current product names? I forget. You have a 7900, which is your 144 CU. And you have a 7800, which is a 112. And guess what? They're the same parts. And guess what? So is the next level down, and the next level down, and the next level down. You're making one part, which means you can bin it to hell and back and still make a profit off pretty much every single piece of that wafer.
Yep. And the best part too, on top of that profit, it's
still faster.
It's faster and way cheaper.
It's faster, it's cheaper, it's more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So imagine those current cards now, and just like the AMD processor of the value per performance, imagine that in your graphics card. It's going to be amazing. You're sitting there looking at that $1,000 graphics card. We're looking at a $500 graphics card.
Right.
That
performs like a $1,000 graphics card.
Yes, exactly. But this will be first gen with this patent, so maybe wait till the second gen. Right. But again, that was just the patent for this. There's nothing else we know about it other than they filed a patent for it. But that usually means we're probably going to hear something really soon later.
It's probably going to be coming around pretty soon.
Yeah.
So RDNA3, anyone? I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. Almost as excited as today's sponsor. No, I'm kidding.
What are you, Linus?
No. Sorry, I'm Budget Linus. What do you want, a tech tip? I got a tech tip for you. This is a really good beer.
I'm enjoying mine as well. It's
940, and I can say this is a really good beer.
There you go. Right. All right. Well, speaking of beer, we have a little bit of beer news.
Who is that? RM5000 sends an ARS. What currency is ARS?
I didn't. Australian?
No, Argentinian.
Argentinian. Hey, chiclets. Chiclets are little candies.
Yes. I think he knows that. I think he was. Okay. We were saying chiplets a lot, so he says chiclets.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They're kind of like little chiclets. Anyway, yeah, 50 Argentinian. Thank you, RM5000. That's awesome. Andrew, $2 donation. What do you think of running Linux on the MacBook M1? Issues? They announced it 3 hours ago. What do you want me to have a hot take? Now let me tell you my hot take. I think it's freaking awesome. So there is an Ubuntu port for the M1 that's based off the Raspberry Pi Ubuntu Mate project. I am very much looking forward to trying it. So you can boot it off a USB-C thumb drive and have it as a live Linux distro. And I'm definitely looking forward. So they got everything Everything working. I2C, power sleep, wireless, it all works. I'm so looking forward to trying this. I'm especially looking forward to trying Steam on Linux on Apple Silicon. That's what I want to try. So it sounds really interesting. And certainly with the improvements that we've seen just from Apple on the Silicon, let alone Linux compatibility with a lot of devices. By the way, I was running Pop! OS on my GPD Win 2 until today because I got a new part in that I needed Windows to be installed on, and so I reflashed it. But Pop! OS perfectly running on the GPD Win 2, and I was thrilled running it that way. It was awesome, and I'll probably end up installing Pop! OS on my GPD Win 1 and keeping this as a RetroArch dedicated handheld. Because this thing is a PlayStation and PSP machine. Like, eats them for breakfast.
It looks like a PSP.
It looks like a PSP, and I love the form factor of it.
I mean, that literally is a PSP right there. A little bit bigger, but yeah.
Right. But it's been fantastic. And playing like Madden 2012 for PSP on this device, like, heck yes. It's been great.
Jeffrey living those Brett Favre Green Bay era.
Ooh. No comment.
Yeah. I got no problem with Brett Favre. The Detroit Lions still sucked back then, Jeff.
I know. I hate to say I have any problem with Brett Favre, but they had Brett Favre and won 2 Super Bowls, and our quarterback was running out of the back of the end zone. So that's what we got. We got Matt Millen and
you got a new coach this year, so maybe that'll help you.
6-year contract. Anyone got the over/under on that? Because I'm taking the under.
Oh my gosh, he's gonna be fired in 3. Not even that 2. He'll be fired in 2.
Yeah. Well, even Patricia made it 2.5, which I was mind-boggled with. I love that we went from Jim Schwartz, who took us back to a respectable franchise. Like, we're 500 and fighting for a playoff spot every year. Honestly, if you're the Lions, that's a good of a turnaround that you can expect. Like, he was like 7-9, 9-9, 9-7.
Yeah, but
had the 11-5 year that was like, we should have done more, and then lost to Minnesota in the first round. Like, or no, we lost to the Saints in the first round. But he had us competitive again. And then they said, no, competitive's not enough. We need to win.
Yeah.
And so they went over to, I don't even remember our last coach's name. I feel really bad.
It's oh no, not the last coaches. I don't remember the.
Yeah, no. Yeah. There's Matt Patricia on the outgoing.
Yeah.
Who was the guy who never smiled?
I don't remember. But
just sideline going, I'm incredibly excited right now.
Yeah.
Our team's doing really well.
But yeah.
Like, again, 9-7 wasn't enough and whatnot. It's like, doesn't matter that Calvin Johnson retired. Doesn't matter that you guys can't draft anyone and no one talks, GM to coach or what personnel that we need. Let's draft another wide receiver.
Yeah, but then they paid for Matthew Stafford and they paid out the butt for him. And
efficiency-wise, Matthew Stafford's top 5 in the league.
Yeah, but then they're like, oh, we need
the problem is he can't stay upright.
Yeah.
And they had no running back for 5 years. And they said, hey, Matt, you want to do a 3-step drop for the next 7 years? And he goes, yeah, okay, because if I step back 5, I'm going to be on the ground.
Step by 5, you might get an extra half.
You're paying me $80 million. I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's how half the quarterbacks are. Like, look, I got to work with what I got.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. They're really the only people that can sit there and be like, look, I get a voice, is like the Brady, the Breeze, those are the people that, like, I can tell you what I want and you're going to give it to me because I'm franchised. I'm he's still technically a young quarterback. He's only been in 4 years. So
who?
Matthew, the Lions quarterback. No. 4 or 5 years, right? He's only been the quarterback for 4 to 5.
2008.
Really?
Uh-huh.
No way.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No. Ow.
Matthew Stafford, age 32, was drafted by the Lions in 2009.
Drafted, but when was he the head quarterback?
2009.
Oh my!
He started as a rookie.
Okay, fire him. God.
The thing is, Matthew Stafford is the Matt Ryan of the NFC North. Like, he freaking deserves one at this point. The amount of crap that the Atlanta Falcons went through and the amount of turnover that they had at head coach and running back and all their skill positions and everything else. And there's Matt Ryan. Yeah. And finally they broke through and they won one. Or they made it to the Super Bowl.
They went to the Super Bowl. They lost.
Sorry, I forgot 27-3. But they went to the Super Bowl.
They lost a 21-point lead. Yeah, is what it was. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Matt Ryan's my age.
Right. Like, isn't that disgusting?
Is it? Yeah, it is disgusting.
Like you look at Matthew Stafford and you go, oh, he's younger than I am.
Oh, I hate.
And we're saying he needs to retire. I don't know what I would do at this point in my life.
I hate watching football now. I'm like, everyone's younger than me.
Everyone
is young.
You hear an NBA team hired a veteran center to come in and coach the young guys, and they're like, yeah, he's 33 and well on his way past his peak, but man, if he can do some coaching for it's like, oh, come on.
Oh, I know. And I'm like, oh God. Well, whatever.
Yeah, he's 33 and he can't jump anymore. I can still run a mile. Yeah.
Oh, there goes that bottle opener.
I heard that.
That was a bottle opener.
Okay.
And so,
yeah, Matthew Stafford has over 45,000 career passing yards for the Lions and a total waste. I fully agree with that. Matthew Stafford eclipsed 10,000 yards eclipsed the 5,000 yard mark quite a few times in his career. He had Megatron around him, which was fantastic. Man, they've always been missing. I don't want to say just a piece, an entire component of their team. They've had great running backs. Even in the last 10 years. They got Javid Best in there. They got, this year they had, what's his name? Oh my God. Freeman? I want to say Freeman. They've had running backs. They had Ruben Drones, or not Ruben Drones, the other Oregon dude. We've had running backs, and they really haven't produced because we haven't had an offensive line. Or we've had a phenomenal defensive line, we'll hold you to 9 points a game. Unfortunately, our offense can only score 7. And then we've had an offense that'll score 40. Unfortunately, the defense is going to let you score 50. We've always been missing an entire wing of either the offense or the defense that just isn't there.
Wow. This year, second Buccaneers 47-7.
Yeah.
Wow. They got their behinds wiped.
Yeah. No, I only watched, I want to say 2 football games all year. And one of them was that game. So thank you for bringing that one back up. And I watched the very opening kick with Kansas City and was that New Orleans?
The Saints?
Yeah, the very first game. It was a Thursday night game to kick off the NFL season. It was Kansas City and it was someone else. And I said, I feel like I shouldn't be watching this because this feels like a super spreader event because they let 15,000 people in the stands. I'm like, well, it's only 15,000 people.
It was the Bears, yeah.
Yeah, Kansas City and the Bears. And I went, I don't feel like I should be supporting this because all those people are going to get COVID. Oh, and by the way, that ended up being a super spreader event for COVID in which 1,000 people died.
Oh, geez.
Either in attendance or with direct contact with those in attendance. 1,000 people died because of that football game. And at halftime, I turned that game off and went, I can't support the game with 15,000 people in the stands. I can't do it.
The problem was it wasn't COVID. It was the Lions. The Lions killed them. They were like, oh, they're going to suck again.
Yep.
That's it. And
5-11.
Like,
pack it up, boys.
Yep. They're like, oh.
No, 5-11. We're back to normal.
Yeah. And they were just like, nope,
open the schools.
I can't even live anymore if the Lions are going to keep doing that. And they're like, well, I'm out. That's what it was.
Yep. Detroit has had 4 winning seasons since 2008. I know that. And we've had 4 playoff appearances. The one we squandered was in 2011 when we were 11-5 and freaking world beaters.
But why do you like the Lions?
Because I grew up when the man, the myth, the legend was at his absolute best. Barry Sanders. I grew up in a not football household.
They'll never won a Super Bowl.
But I know they won 1 playoff game for credit. The Lions have won 1 playoff game in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay. 1. No division championships. None. Like that was an at-large game. But I grew up in a non-football household outside of like college football. Like my parents are huge college football fans. And I'm also a huge college football fan, but I also took it like I like the NFL too. They hate the NFL. And I'm like, who wouldn't want to see people at the top of their game?
Yeah.
And every time I went over for Thanksgiving to my grandparents' house,
you see the Lions.
They had the Lions game on.
Yeah.
And who was my childhood idol other than Barry frickin' Sanders?
I get that. Okay.
Putting down yard.
Oh yeah.
In like my formative years.
I understand. I understand that.
Yeah, here's Barry running for 190 yards over the Bears or some crap. Like hell yeah, give me that all day long. And so anytime I could watch the Lions and tune in and watch Barry Sanders, I was hooked. No, and so from like age 8 or 9, I've been a Lions fan.
I get that. I can respect.
Native Oregonian, never even been to Michigan.
I was gonna say, Lions I don't remember you ever living in Detroit or anything like that. Nope. I was like, why are you a Lions fan?
Yep. No,
like, are you like a huge like Home Improvement fan?
Well, grew up watching Home Improvement, so you know you got that Michigan pride thing going and whatnot. I do have a cousin who attended Michigan, so. I'm not necessarily go blue, but you know, at least I have some family connection that you know, at least connects me tangentially to Michigan.
Oh yeah.
But that's it. She didn't graduate from there. She just attended for a year. So yeah. But yeah, that's why because Barry Sanders is the freaking man. And
all right, Barry,
you grew up.
I can't disagree with that. I really can't. No, Barry Sanders is a man. He's a Hall of Famer, deserves all the credit. Should he deserved a Super Bowl win? Probably.
He should have deserved a Super Bowl win. I'll say the same thing about Calvin Johnson. I'll say the same thing about Matt Stafford. I can't say much about the rest. Matt Stafford has given literally everything he can ever give to the city of Detroit. And I know we're in sports talk and my analytics are tanking. I don't care. You tuned in to watch me. But Matthew Stafford, like, what more could you want out of a franchise quarterback? Someone who's committed to the city, who gives back to the city, who is
he does do that a lot,
baller on the field, who is that, I don't care that I broke 3 ribs, put me back in. I don't care that I separated a shoulder, pop it back in. I'm going to go win this game, winning against the Browns. If you ever want an inspirational story, go watch the last 2 minutes of the Lions-Browns game. If you just search Lions-Browns, you'll get the ESPN mic'd up Matthew Stafford because he was wired for that game. And he's on the sideline going, they called a timeout. I can get back in. Ah! And he goes in and he throws the game-winning pass with a separated shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, there's no better 2 minutes in football than those 2 minutes right there. And Matthew Stafford deserves a Super Bowl. He deserves a Super Bowl. He deserves a Super Bowl MVP. I will say the same thing about Calvin Johnson, but Detroit did to Calvin Johnson what Detroit did to almost every other star player that's been through there. It absolutely broke their spirit. They no longer want to play football because they play football for Detroit.
I don't think it's the team. I think it's the management, the coaching staff.
It's been a lot of the management. It's been a lot of.
I wouldn't say it's a coaching. I think new coaches come there very.
It starts at management and it goes down.
Yes,
and coaching has been an extension of management.
And well, I think there's been recently, again, like you said, the previous the third coach back who was semi-consistent.
Yeah.
But then the Patriots offensive or whatever, or I think it was the defensive coach. They all came in there very optimistic, wanting to do stuff, and management, from my understanding, held them back and said, no. I'm going to give you dirt and you need to make it gold.
Right.
And so, but, all right. So it's
Caldwell.
Caldwell. All
right. The Ernie Kent of Detroit.
It's almost.
I hope some of you got that because he's currently the Pacers. Or no, that's, so Ernie Kent was the old Oregon head basketball coach for college, and Ernie Kent was emotionless and never got riled up except when he was on the sidelines. And Jim Caldwell reminded me so much of Ernie Kent. There was Ernie Kent, and there was who was the Blazers coach, who's now the coach of the Pacers, Nate McMillan. That's who Jim Caldwell reminded me of, was Nate McMillan. Because they're on the sideline and they're like, I'm doing it my way. We did our game plan. This is the plan we're going out with. And I don't care that we're down 30 at halftime. My plan is solid, and we just need to execute my plan.
Yeah, and I hate.
And while the other team's making adjustments to put another 15 on you after halftime.
Yeah, I hate coaches.
Caldwell
like
and Ernie Kent and Caldwell were like, no, we're just going to stick to our guns and we're going to make it work.
It's a solid plan. We just got to keep doing it. You execute these same 6 plays. It's going to work if you execute them properly.
I want to talk to the manager. I ordered Tech Talk. All right. We got a couple beer stories for you.
We do have a couple beer stories. So it's almost 10. So we'll close with a couple beer stories.
John got me into the Lions by calling me a Brett Favre fan. As if there was any higher insult.
I know, right? Come on. I knew that was going to rival him.
He played for the Packers and then went to the frickin' Vikings.
And still went to the playoffs and beat the Packers both times he played the Packers.
I know.
Although
he even did all right for the Jets.
He did. Oh, honestly, actually, when you were talking about good highlights, I love watching Brett Favre highlights. Actually,
they're disgusting.
That guy was a cowboy. Just like, I don't care. I'm gonna throw it.
Best game I ever watched in my life was either the 2000 or 2001 playoffs between Green Bay and Minnesota, and it was what was it? Was that Brett Favre to Antonio Freeman? That connection, where Brett Favre, it's overtime, by the way, and it's playoffs, so it's sudden death playoffs. And Brett Favre is fading right, and he's looking for someone open, and he's scrambling, and he's making time, and he's using his legs like he always freaking did. And someone hits him, and he sidearms a missile. Just like he gets hit and goes and wings one sidearm.
Yeah.
And Antonio Freeman's on the sideline, and it hits Freeman in the chest and bounces straight up in the air. And the Vikings defender was diving to tackle Freeman, but Freeman fell down when the ball hit him. And so Freeman's laying on the ground and the ball just pops straight up. And so Freeman reaches a hand out and the ball lands on his hand and never touches the ground. Oh. And since Freeman was never touched, he stands up and runs in for a touchdown. Yeah. And that's how the game ends.
It's great.
It's on YouTube. I know you can find it, but I think it's either 2000 or 2001. Might have even been 99, but it was in the Packers dynasty when they were in the NFC Championship every single year.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have been more mad at Brett Favre than I was at that point in time. But I watched that game and I'm like, holy crap. And I've always been an Antonio Freeman fan. I don't care that he beat me because he's amazing. But Brett Favre just pissed me off.
Okay.
But that play just sticks. Anyway.
All right. So some beer news. So recently, Jim Beam has been actually fighting the craft beer industry of saying the rise of people are going to bars and fighting craft beers. I thought actually the only reason I bring this particular article up, I just thought the ad itself was hilarious. I don't know, Jeff, did you get to watch the ad?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it is right.
I read all the tech news so I could be up. I knew you'd be up on the beer. I didn't have time.
The ad, I know we can't play it, but honestly, it's one of those perfect Jim Beam or perfect ads of the guy goes up to a bar and all these snooty beer guys go up to him. You need to have this IPA aged in goat milk. You need to have the, you know, and you need to have this Hefeweizen made with Hefeberries and these German beer. And then there's this creepy guy with a stout. You need to have this stout.
Aged in goat milk. I saw that.
And then so it's just like, oh, would you like a Jim Beam with some ginger ale, a Jim Beam highball?
Yeah.
And so Jim Beam has gone to a fight against the craft beer industry.
You know, and good for him.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's great. I, in my opinion, why not both? Right? We'll go to the bar, have a beer, and have a cocktail.
I've long stated on this channel, I am more of a cocktail fan than I am of a beer fan. It's not that I'm not a beer fan. I love craft beers. I have a really sweet spot for, you know, Russian Imperial stouts and bourbon barrel aged stuff and whatnot. Oh, yeah. I get it. But I also love IPAs and saisons and, you know, all the really weird, like, fruited sour crap. I love it. It's great. But I love cocktails more. And when I see ads like this, it's like, you can love cocktails too. You don't have to just like, I'm an IPA fan. You know what my drink of choice in Vegas is? It's a Scotch and ginger. It's a Scotch and ginger ale or Scotch and ginger beer if they happen to have it. It's freaking delicious. It's usually Dewar's White Label, and so it's not expensive Scotch, but it's something you can sip on all night long and never get tired of. And every bartender knows if you order it's 2 ounces of this and pour this over ice. And so if I order rum and Coke or Jim and Coke or Scotch and ginger, it's the same ratio. And so everyone knows how to make it. And it's a drink that you can't screw up. Whereas when I go to the parties, I'm like, what beer do you have? Oh, we have Corona and Bud Light and Miller Lite. And I think we have some Budweiser and blah, blah. You know what? Scotch and ginger. Gotcha. And that's what I drink.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I just found this commercial very humorous. I was like, very playful. It's fantastic.
It was.
And
it's great.
I love, I mean,
as you described it, it's great.
Yeah, I got some Jim Beam this is for a video actually, but I still have some. I have no problem drinking it. So I should say, but I love cocktails. I love beer, and I love, there's plenty of mixes in between. But I think it's similar to the great advertisement, the rivalries, and it's just really good advertising. It's really good fun.
Yeah.
So, and then closing for the beer news, because that wasn't really beer, but whatever. There is some sad news.
It's cocktail. This is also cocktail news.
It's fine. Yeah, it works. Some sad news. This is a pretty large brewery locally for us, Portland Brewing Company. They do distribute pretty largely. They are technically owned by a national conglomerate.
Mm-hmm. But they cover a good chunk of pretty much everything west of the Mississippi. Like if you're Colorado and even some of the flyover states, if you start getting into, you know, Kansas, Wyoming, and et cetera.
Have you ever seen like Pyramid Brewing Company?
Right.
That's technically Portland Brewing brews for Pyramid.
Right.
So they're a brewery that owns, and unfortunately they are shutting their doors. And they were founded in 1986. They have been a landmark brewery for Oregon and a lot of places. And they will be shutting their doors down. And there is no plans to for any of their beers to be brewed again. Yeah. Now, they did try to resurrect kind of a popular local theme with doing, I actually did a review on one of these, the Unipiper. If you are unfamiliar with Oregon's lore.
Oregon lore.
The Unipiper is one of them. He is a fantastic bagpiper on a unicycle, usually wearing a Darth Vader helmet and flames coming out of his bagpipe.
Flame-throwing bagpiper.
It is fantastic. Google the Unipiper.
The Unipiper.
You don't even have to say Portland. The Unipiper.
The Unipiper.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
And by the way, he's at most beer opening events in Oregon.
Fantastic guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. So they made a beer after him. I did the review. It was an okay beer. Unfortunately, I myself personally think a lot of the beers kind of fallen in quality And but I also think it's because they were bought out for so many times and just passed around. Same with Pyramid. Pyramid has their big apricot ale. That's probably, I think, their most famous one.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I think the apricot and their Hefeweizen are their two top tier. I think they distribute most of the Northwest and some Midwest. And so that one actually, even from my understanding, is going to be cutting back. So 2 large breweries from the Northwest will be shutting down, unfortunately. And I think it's just the 2020 issue and just craft beer industry. They can't keep up with the demand of the new school stuff. Unfortunately, just sad news. So,
yeah. Never fun to see a brewery close, especially one that's been around for 35 years.
Yeah, 89. So
yeah.
So a staple in the craft beer.
86.
That's
why I said 35.
Oh yeah. So a staple in the craft beer community for the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Really one of the pioneers. So.
Yeah. No, it's sad to see him go. Pyramid, while they were never the best, they were always pretty darn solid. And,
yeah. I mean.
They also did. They also had their own brand for Portland Brewing, and so you can get some actual Portland Brewing beers as well. They were always solid and drinkable, and something I was happy to have in my fridge.
Yeah, the apricot one. Honestly, it was early on when I was a new beer drinker. I'd have that in my fridge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a decent light ale that was perfect for summer, and you wanted that introduction to fruit beers.
Yeah,
that was a great beer. And then Portland Brew, they had an decent IPA that was an introduction. And like I said, the Unipiper was their first hazy. My review of it was that it really wasn't that hazy.
Yeah.
And
it was hazy inspired, but
it was a hazy inspired more. My review was it tasted more like a hoppy pale ale that looked hazy but didn't taste like a hazy IPA. So it should have been called unfiltered. And you would have been fine with that, but they called it hazy.
Yeah.
So, yep. So there's that. That's the end of all of our news today.
That'd be it. Got about 5 minutes to kill before my bladder decides to explode. So,
I know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
How's your beer going?
It's delicious.
Yeah. I've actually, the warmer this has gotten, the nice, sweet, malty roasting notes have come out. So I've been enjoying mine as well. The Pyramid apricot is solid.
The heat on this one builds up as it gets warmer. So I started with this definitely below room temperature. I would say it was 45. Now it's solidly room temperature. And 45, I think, was the perfect place to pour it because you got so much of that vanilla and cinnamon kind of dancing around that I don't think I get now. Now I'm getting much more of the chocolate and much more of the pepper. But that's really not a bad thing because it started super, super smooth. And now it's turned from that super smooth, not too rich kind of beer. Like I feel like having, like I need some buffalo wings or like some potato wedges is kind of what I need with this beer.
You need a little fried food, bar food.
I need a little fried food. Right. I need a little bar food with this. To now it's turned into kind of a dessert beer where it's all chocolate, but it's got some heat behind it. And I'm loving it. It's freaking good.
We have already had 3 requests as you were talking for Star Trek. Technically 2 Treks and 1 Galaxy Quest.
1 Galaxy Quest.
Which is that's Trek, but
so quite a few years ago, we went up. Me and my wife took a weekend up to Seattle before my second daughter was born, but we left the first daughter at Grandma's house. We went up to Seattle for like a 4 or 5 day weekend and just walked the city and stayed in a nice hotel, like 20th floor overlooking the bay and that kind of thing. And, or overlooking the sound. And it was great. And we're like, well, what can we do in the city that we wouldn't normally be able to do at home, because Portland and Salem both have pretty good nightlifes to them. And we're going, well, what does Seattle have that Portland doesn't? Yeah. And one thing we found wasn't higher prices. One thing we found was a movie theater with 2 screens that on Friday nights played sci-fi classics in the theater, and was also a bar. And I went, well, that sounds perfect. And it so happens that the night that we were in Seattle, they were playing Galaxy Quest on one of those screens.
Nice.
So I got a second chance to go see Galaxy Quest in theaters, and it was just as great as I had imagined, or as I had experienced the first time, because I saw the first one in theaters too.
Yeah, I saw the first one in theaters.
But getting to re-experience that. Oh, and by the way, they also had themed drinks, and so I had like a Romulan ale, which was completely colored blue. It was blue curacao and vodka, and it
even though that's
honestly wasn't that great.
But
it was not that great. But I'm drinking a Romulan ale, watching freaking Galaxy Quest on the big screen.
Obviously, they had no clue what they were doing, but yeah, okay.
Perfect night. Yeah.
I've already gotten 3 responses. I have to say you haven't seen it, but they want your response on season 3 of Discovery.
I've seen to episode 3, season 1 of Discovery.
No,
I find it so hard to get into Discovery.
I will be on that side. I vomited my way through season 1 and 2. If there was a puke bucket and I had the worst flu ever and food poisoning and just vomiting through, like the Family Guy episode where they make everyone puke. Yeah. That is season 1 and 2, and you have to get through that.
Yeah. You have to get through the 5 minutes of vomit to enjoy the 2 minutes of prologue.
And honestly, though, season 3, Star Trek. It is Star Trek.
Yeah,
season 3 is Star Trek. But it is the worst, 1 and 2, worst vomiting you will ever go through.
And that's, if sequel still exists in the 2300s, I will slit my wrists right now.
Yeah.
Like let's be clear. The second they went CSI on us, I went, I'm out.
Oh yeah, no,
I can't.
It is.
I can't.
Now, season 3.
Not only will I can't, I won't.
Now, I will state though, maybe I only feel this way because I had to go back to back.
It was so bad.
It was so bad.
Right.
Then I started through like, oh, this is so much better.
Season 3 is going, come back, baby. You know I love you.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, here's how I equate. I think season 3 is as good as Voyager.
Okay.
So it's not great, but it feels Voyager-esque to me.
See, and I can get behind that. So I don't know that I can endure almost 50 episodes of vomit, though.
Oh, it is so hard.
I don't know that I can.
It took me almost a year to watch. It really did. I was like, is there no other crap on Netflix or anything that I can't watch?
If you're old enough to remember TNG the first time around, this is normal from John. I am. And I will say, I remember some rough spots. But the thing is,
there were rough spots in DS9, so shut up.
There were rough spots in DS9. I wasn't even going to go there. I was going to say, consider the other shows that were on at the same time.
Yeah.
There was nothing else for the sci-fi fan. And so it was that or nothing. And then Babylon 5 came along, season 3, and you got a little bit of a reprieve if you wanted to shoot that direction. But the budget was much higher on TNG, and so the storytelling may have been a little bit better on Babylon 5, kind of debatable. Definitely a better overarching story than TNG.
Yeah, they took the DS9 approach.
Well, some say DS9 stole the Babylon 5 approach because Babylon 5 came before DS9.
I honestly agree with that.
And I do too. I will say DS9 was probably the more popular and the better execution of it, but I will give props to Babylon 5, that Babylon 5 was first in the overarching 24 from Fox storyline kind of thing.
Yeah, we have a continuous long story.
Right. And it did very well. Yeah. But in the first 3, 4, 5 seasons, what else were you going to get for a sci-fi fix?
Oh, nothing.
There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. And so it was either you're a sci-fi fan
leap.
And you watch Trek.
Yeah.
Or you're not a sci-fi fan. So we accepted a lot more back then.
Yeah.
Whereas today, there's so much good television today that it's really, really hard to invest myself into 50 pretty atrocious episodes for a well-established canon at this point.
Well, yeah, and so I think though the best part of the issue I always had with Discovery was they put themselves in this where 10 years before, Kirk.
Right.
And so, but the tech was way out there, way advanced. And that's because of just modern technology.
Why everyone wants to do prequels, I cannot wrap my head around.
But then
tell a new story. Don't tell us where we're going. Tell us where we haven't been before.
So that's what makes season 3 special, is because it does go to the future, and it goes. So the latest future prior to Discovery, season 3, the latest future we had was in Enterprise when we had there was the temporal core. I don't know if you ever watched Enterprise, but there was the temporal accords war, and it goes beyond that. So now we're actually in the furthest storytelling in Trek history.
Yeah.
And so now it's a completely fresh story. And the best part is it says, hey, here's this old crew, basically from Kirk's era, that we have to dump in here. So it's kind of Voyager-esque of a world we don't know. We have to rediscover everything. We have to still have the Starfleet morals of the world because it's kind of died. Yeah. And so we're the traditional Starfleet that you and I grew up with.
Right.
And now it's been broken so far into the future, and they're rebuilding it. So it is similar to Voyager, to where Janeway's always like, no, we have to have the principles of Starfleet.
Yeah.
And really season 3 has a lot of that. Now there is a couple episodes that is like, this is stupid.
Right. Everyone has their holodeck episodes. Everyone has their weird sex planet. Everyone has the 11 weird
episodes. 7 out of the 10 or 11 are good. So, whereas before it was 1 out of the 11 were good in Discovery season 1 or 2.
Right.
And the other ones were literally like drinking dog beer.
So John, have you seen this new game that I picked up on Risa?
Oh, is that Cyberpunk 2077? That's cool.
No, it's just there's these discs floating around and you put them into cones based on how relaxed you are. Like it's really great.
No, I'm going to be a 16-year-old and not want to play video games. But because I have a sweetheart who's I'm like super hot with, and I'm going to play some 80s music around her.
Right. I'm surprised they didn't play This Is It during that scene.
All right. I think that's probably
a good show. So. Anyway, if you are a Patreon or Floatplane exclusive premium member, you can see my unboxing of the Epson BT30C and see my subsequent rant on why I am so upset that I spent $450 on this box. For the rest of you, thank you so much for watching episode 167 of Talking Heads every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff. He's John. Make sure to like this video. Subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to Hops and Brews if you like the content, the beer content specifically on this channel, because he does a lot more deep dives than I do and drinks a lot more than I do.
I have something very, very special, actually.
Do you? Do you want to plug it?
Imagine carbonating your own beer with your breath. Think about that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a beer, carbonate with my own breath.
Only if you fermented that beer with your own hair.
Ah.
You got to do both.
Now that would have been
Schubenbrau.
I really wanted to do that when I cut my hair to like cultivate that yeast out of that hair.
Schubenbrau.
Lisa wouldn't let me keep the hair.
Yep. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it every single week. Make sure to join the Patreon or Float Plane if you want to keep this conversation going in the after show every Wednesday night at 10:30 Pacific time over on the Discord. Until then, we'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time for latest in beer and tech news, or on Anchor.fm, where your favorite podcasts are found.
That's right.
Later, all.
See you guys.